Project P.A.L.G.E.N, a Helldivers 2 story, written by Lumenaught. Narration created by the author. Chapter 1, Ouroboros. I now see myself. Oblivion is order, and chaos is life itself. Nothing lasts forever. I don't know how I came to this world called Angel's Venture. Was I born here? Logically, it would seem so. Yet why do I doubt and feel alien to this chilly paradise that is never winter? What will I do? Revenge! I am the Avenger of Angel's Venture? What is my name? Amnesia. A new beginning. I need to start. Let's start with opening our eyes. I'm sitting, looking down at my clothing. Coveralls, lab coat, something on my legs, and boots. I can smell it. I'm soaked in human blood. And green blood? What has green blood? Terminids. I look up to find a huge insect lying dead on my legs. The creature has its head missing. My mind stings in outrage, and I speak involuntarily. Even if a samurai's head were to be suddenly cut off, he should still be able to perform one more action with certainty. What was that? It's poetry. The poetry of war. Pain. Again. Why did I say that? Why do I feel hate and respect at the same time? Was I talking about the Terminid or myself? My right hand twitches and feels the cold steel of my great-grandfather's heirloom P4 Senator Mataba auto revolver. He named it Vash. Even slightly dirty and blooded, it shines like fresh vengeance. A speed loader sleeps in my left hand. I check the cylinder, reload, and kick the crawler's corpse off of me. For such size, it seems light. I have 6 speed loaders total, 4 more ready for use. The few human bodies I see are shredded and chewed. The macabre decorations across this emergency evacuation port come in all ages. Tracks of a dragged body and painted blood lead to the distance. This happened recently. I realize I've awoke in the morn with blood upon my brow and a pain in my mind that is more than physical. The warrior took my bullets, but robbed me of my memories. A malfunctioning datapad and blue satchel a meter away. Screen's partially cracked. I'll turn on the audio just to be sure. I pick up the pad and it scans me. The log in default speaks my name through a damaged speaker. Welcome, super citizen Jonathan and the Ash. John. My name is John. The battery icon is flashing. I read fast. I know I can. Class A citizen. Ministry of Science clearance super secret. Ministry of Truth clearance super secret. My bones go cold as my eyes pass over the meaning of the next symbols I see. Project Protein and Limbic Grafting Evolution Nanites. I reach into my lab coat pocket and find a spent stim labeled Project P.A.L.G.E.N. Limbic system? That shouldn't affect memories. The head wound or a mistake of the nanites? Perhaps both? The same outcome. My memories flash, the panic of blood goblets blinding my vision. Dried blood, and a wish that I could remember remain. The screen starts to flicker black. I discover inside the satchel a super credit chip, a handkerchief that says Super Rock Cafe, and a survival knife with a screw cap on the grip. Inside the hollow handle is a Cura stim. I plug the credit chip into the pad. Super credits 10,115. Display upon the screen before the pad loses the power to live. I pull the credit chip and the memory chip out of the broken data pad for later reading. I look at the super credit chip and feel like this is a large sum of currency. Even if I lived frugal, how can this be everything I own? I search my memories for the ruins of my broken and disregarded as worthless former life. Again, not a single vision of the past usable or even in one piece. Flashes of what seemed to be household goods, a lab, books, and old furniture. I have a tattoo. I remember. It's on the inside of my left wrist. The lines are a barcode. I remember now. This is my identification in digital form. The pad scanned this earlier. Echoing booms of sonic sundering filled the skies, and I bore witness to 3 Super Earth Destroyer class ships, each sending a falling flame forward. Against my will, my mouth speaks again. Helldivers drop, hear the sound of thunder's shield, for we are liberty's sword. To decimate and rend asunder foe, for death we wield. Freedom comes, you have my word. Like my brain against the chalkboard, a grinding pain that blackens my vision for a moment. Another audio blast comes down from the skies. I track the location via the light beam. It follows. I check the sun's location, perhaps 600 meters north by northwest. Thinking, what are they doing? Triggers my voice in my head, establishing a communications uplink for our evacuation. The pain lessens, but existent. Allowing the voice to only speak with my mind seems like the less harmful option. Schizophrenia? No. And not psychosis, bipolar disorder, schizoaffective disorder, or severe depression. I am simply you, before I replace myself with you. Don't resist communication with me, and it will hurt less. Ask a question and welcome my answer. The pain doesn't lessen. You're resisting my answer. That's why it hurts. I wouldn't lie to us. Acceptance is the key. Remember the empty stem? Throw it into that fire behind us. I do so. And think, what happened to me? It replies, we used an experimental stimulant that use nanites to heal and then enhance our mind and body. The enhanced mental capacity created you and suppressed your former self. I am the statue, and you are a new layer of paint. I hold all our knowledge, almost to an eidetic level, but not our identity. Your creation erased that. You also control our enhanced body. 7-foot-long dead bug did feel like it was made of foam. I touched the scar upon my healed brow, not jagged but thin. My aggressor had a skillful bladed hand and a preference for speed, yet attacked me after it died. Truly a being out of a horror movie. Listen to me and trust me. Hide the tattooed barcode ID any way you can. Our life depends upon it. When the Helldivers arrive, tell them you have amnesia and you don't want to go with the evacuating citizens. You want to go with them to become a Helldiver. I ask why. The lab was burned down. The only thing of value that didn't burn with it is in our body. We will be dissected, studied, and then farmed for blood and tissue. Super Earth's power is clout, no controversy, for democracy's will be done. There is no doubt, expect no mercy, for you will be given none. A slash of pain in my mind. I writhe. Why are you talking with my voice? I am being absorbed into our subconscious. Soon my lifetime of scientific academia will be nothing more than instinctual answers without thought. You're fighting us uniting into one mind? Why? Because when I become nothing but answers, you won't know what questions to ask. I understand. What do I need to know? Now you're thinking like us. The last 100 years of peace has also brought overpopulation, uncontrolled credit, the secret that E710 oil reserves are almost empty, and non-super Earth worlds are growing in population and infrastructure to the point they could become self-sufficient. These could all become eventual threats to Super Earth. Therefore, they are a threat to Super Earth. I sit down and put my face into my hands. The bugs killing the farm world's population. Overpopulating the bugs creates more E710. Helldivers going to war and die by the trillions. And the debt of the war enslaving the survivors solves a lot of these problems with one line of code, letting the bugs out of their cages. Peace is good for business until war is more profitable. My mind feels the acceptance of this truth like a salve across my wounded brain. What else do I need to know? Super Earth knows that the children of the cyborgs are coming. Their descendants are known as the automatons. Super Earth is calling them an artificial intelligence, AI, despite evidence of them being a digital intelligence, DI. Super Earth will state the bots are 100% metal, but their own pre-made propaganda story has them stealing babies. And there are reports of bioprocessors containing gray matter next to dead Super Earth Defense Force SEDF soldiers. This implies that the bots have kidnapped children's brains or fabricated brains. I continue to listen. This is logical due to the massive power requirements of a computer with 100 trillion synaptic computational connections needed to equal a human intellect. In other words, there are more neurons in a single human brain than stars in the Milky Way galaxy, and you would need a large nuclear reactor to power a computer equal to it. Our own micro AI creations prove this. This explains how they maintain their numbers without a reactor inside each fabricator base and massive batteries on each bot. The more I listen, the better I feel. Despite the horror of the truth I learn, I look up to see the ships sailing amid the stars, beaming lasers upon the land. To war we go, liberator in hand, be not mistaken, as weapons sing of sizzle, bang, and boom. Give not a grain of sand without its cost in blood taken, and with orbital laser turn their fortress into their tomb. Programming wise, this is basically the difference between VR and AR. VR is completely virtual, let's say requiring a modern liquid-cooled computer to run, while AR uses the processing power needs of a datapad. VR users are controlled by system limitations of programming and controls. AR is virtual heads-up display overlaying a real-world three-dimensional image with your body in control. Why is this so important to know? Because the automaton's DI is still inherently human. It's held within a state of being not beyond the human condition, but one being denied the human condition. Being denied an innate instinctual identity is the shatter point of their diamond-like logical perfection. You must find how to weaponize this weakness if mankind is to survive. So you don't know. I have found the door. You must open it. We can't just ask these toasters to surrender? Like French toasters? None. How do you know all of this? We were once with the Ministry of Science, then transferred to the Ministry of Truth. Poetry was a hobby. Soon we will be a warrior poet. I look into the distance and watch the Helldiver's silhouette move toward me. The angels gave us orbital swords, hiding in plain sight. For foes fall from burning blades summoned with freedom's will. We choose our own fate, for good or ill, for none will know the fear of Damocles until you wield its might. What about the Terminids? How do we stop them? You forget. The Terminids are a planned problem for profit. The Ministry of Science already has a way to stop them. They intend to use a poison called termicide to kill them, or at least control them. However, if that fails, we can quarantine their inhabited worlds with modified super destroyer ship engines. It is unlikely the Ministry of Defense will want to resort to this. It would require either a large number of ships to be jury-rigged to the Mars space station in an ineffective endeavor, or the building of a new space station with a next generation level Akubier warp drive. I can feel him integrating into me. I know what I'm going to tell myself. The Terminids colonize worlds with spacefaring spores. Spores are dense-shelled organic components, meaning charged particles embedded into terminid spores shells can be ionized into a magnetic field. Basically, Q traveling at V creates a magnetic field, Q times V. Both the speed and the charge of this energy can be created with an Akubier warp drive engine. Because E710 oil-based engines create such ionized particle fields, a magnetization bubble or wave can be created. All we have to do is activate an Akubier warp drive engine with no movement to gather the spores, and then set a destination that would move the spores to the nearest star's gravity well, allowing the spores to incinerate. Optimal efficiency would be to shoot the spore-filled warp wave instead of moving the station with the spores due to the amount of space moving. I speak aloud as both of us. It's a glorious day for science. The Helldivers come. All goes according to plan. With my tattoo unnoticed and my amnesia, I almost become a John Doe. Instead, I ask to choose my own name. They agree to my request and log my new identity, at least until my real one can be found. I soon get the standard Helldiver armor and accessories, data pad included. Tonight I write this hoping to remember what was lost in the lab cremation pyre. That memory brings light and fire, a light that gives me the liberty and the freedom to make my future. My future is vengeance. I must always remember that I am the Avenger of Angel's Venture. I sleep now in cadet armor within the P.A.L.G.E.N, under the shadow of steel hiding stars. If you find this journal and wish to judge me for my personal justice, I will ask you where you were to prevent my tragedy. I trust none will interfere with my stride for the ones responsible. Should the Ministry of Truth come before me without truth, I will slay them for lying by omission. Funny that for such a man of holiness, teaching, and wisdom, I am not the forgiving type. Rest takes my eyes now. Perhaps closed, they will show me what I cannot see while awake. I must remember. I will remember. End log, day 1, February, Friday the 13th, 2184.